Ladies, gentlemen, and monsters of all ages, I come bearing news about Monster Hunter now, and it's that I had been making a major mistake for a lot of my journey through the game, pretty much until I reached the full-on endgame. That mistake? Ignoring status weapons. Don't get me wrong, elemental weapons are really just fantastic in this game, but they require a ton of materials to maintain and continually upgrade, and you just get to a point where one of your elemental weapons will just be so far better upgraded than the rest of your elemental weapons that you start using it regardless of the monster, and at that point, why are you even using an elemental weapon? Why not use a raw one that would get a higher number? What I'm saying is that elemental weapons are great when you get further in the game and when you can properly farm the good ones, as well as making the appropriate armor to also boost your element of choice. But that requires so much farming to actually manage that I'd say before you hit 6 stars, you're probably better off with either a pure raw weapon or what I'm going to be lobbying for today, status weapons. Especially with the addition of Pink Rathian to the game this week and her parts bringing in a couple more higher end poison weapons too, not to mention a dragon weapon. That's not a status, but I need to mention it. I did decide to start messing around with the statuses in the game and found something sort of silly. Status is great in Monster Hunter now. Yes, there are only currently 2 statuses that we can actually use on our weapons, 3 if you count stun as a baseline for hammer, but as far as actual crafting choices that you can make, Juros weapons for paralysis, or Pookie, Rathian, or some of the Pink Rathian weapons for poison. Paralysis is cool, of course. With a fast-hitting weapon, you can usually get 1 proc per hunt even on a non-weak monster, but paralysis weak monsters like Diablos just get shredded by paralysis. The stronger of the 2 by far though is poison, and there are 2 main reasons for that. First, like in proper Monster Hunter games, poison scales with the monster's health, meaning that no matter what your actual poison damage is on the weapon stat, it won't actually change the damage. The poison will do the same % of the monster's health to a 1 star as it would to a 9 star, but different actual raw values. The difference in your poison attack on the weapon is just how fast you can apply it. This may sound like it's not great though. I mean, farming lesser monsters would be less effective, right? Because poison will do less damage. But if you are hunting lesser monsters, they shouldn't be tough anyways. It doesn't matter. The real advantage comes from the fact that using a poison weapon to fight a monster above your pay grade evens the playing field just a bit, which is why I have this clip of me using a grade 4 Rathian bow to kill 6-star Great Juros. Not at all an easy fight, and that's definitely an underleveled weapon to get that done if it wasn't for the poison. And yes, I could do it with a grade 5 raw weapon, probably, but the fact that it is doable with a grade 4 poison weapon proves the exact point I'm trying to make here, which is that poison weapons have the unique effect of essentially letting your weapons act as if they are a few upgrade levels higher than they actually are if you are fighting particularly hard monsters because of the health gap. The extra damage from the enhanced poison means there is less damage that you actually have to put out yourself with your regular attacks, and like paralysis, if you happen to also be against a monster weak to poison, it will absolutely destroy them. Like Legiana, for example, who is a pretty annoying fight in general, mostly because she just likes to spend a bunch of time up flying in the sky, but when you poison her, she actually cannot fly for the duration of the poison, which makes fighting her much simpler. Elements do a lot of damage, yes, but they require way more maintenance and upgrading than statuses do, and statuses have a different, arguably greater effect on the hunt. Paralysis lets you bang out one of your stronger combos on meteor weapons when it applies. Poison not only does enhanced damage against harder targets, but can also neuter things like Legiana entirely, and I'd be remiss if I didn't also put a moment to mention stun for hammer. Most often you are targeting the head anyways with hammer, and so occasionally with the hammer you will just get a stun and the knockdown that comes with it, and that is just free damage when you do, which is of course fantastic. My only issue with status weapons is honestly the hunt timer in the game. Realistically, you will only get 1 poison, 1 paralysis, or 1 stun in a hunt. They make a ton of difference, of course, when they do happen, and they are impactful as all hell, but as far as how it feels to have in your hands, knowing the effect that your entire weapon is based around only happened once per hunt is sort of sad. Even if relative to the hunt timer itself, that effect is actually really strong. So in feeling, I wish it felt like more, but in actual practice, the thing is, they are just really good. All this to say, don't sleep on statuses in Monster Hunter now, though sleep is not currently available. So how can we translate that to early gameplay and plans for how to progress using statuses then? Well, the main thing that I'd say is to make yourself a Pookie weapon and focus on upgrading that thing to the moon, because it will be able to carry you much further than any other singular early weapon tree that you upgrade to the same level. My specific recommendation past that even is actually the Pookie bow in particular. Bows are pretty strong in this game once you get used to them. Their perfect evade is incredible, their regular mobility is fantastic, the damage output is really solid, and just like in regular Monster Hunter, bows are exceptional at applying killing status because of the multi-hit nature of the weapon itself, so it makes it lovely for poison as well. Pookie Bow will carry you a long way. I've got Rathian Bow myself, which I do prefer, but you also have to, of course, have Rathian stuff unlocked before you can even make that, and arguably there are better armor parts to spend Rathian materials on than there are Pookie armor parts to spend Pookie materials on, so technically the Pookie weapon is just a genuinely more efficient choice and a really good way to just gain power. And that was honestly the main point that I wanted to make in this video. Just hey, check out status weapons. They are arguably the most efficient path to power as far as their relative strength and the fact that you only need to keep one weapon up to snuff rather than elements requiring a bunch all being upgraded at the same time to stay on even power against ever-growing monsters of higher star ranks. Aside from that, however, hey, I'm in the endgame now, so that's cool, and I figured that I should share any of the other things that I've picked up in this newest section of my Monster Hunter Now journey as a result. One big thing that I mentioned in a previous Monster Hunter Now video, but it was one of my really early ones, and the further I get into the game, the more I feel that I really should have emphasized this even more: hunt small monsters. When you have the game open and there are small monsters, don't ignore them. Yes, I know small monsters are far less exciting to hunt than large ones, but you will genuinely get to a point later in the game where a single weapon upgrade, just one level, not even a grade upgrade, will cost the equivalent of like 50 plus small monster kills. So don't ignore them, don't leave them alone. You want to actually just collect all their stuff. They reset their spawns every 5 minutes on the round numbers, so every 5 and 10 on the clock. So if you're just sitting around and you do plan on advancing far in the game, I absolutely recommend getting some small monster kills in as often as you can. Aside from that, I have a bit of a weird tip, which is, well, don't complete the story too early, and you can apply this to multiple points across progression as well. There are two main facets to this one. First, here is some data compiled by a Japanese player from a bunch of other people that are playing the game. This covers rarity 1 to 5 materials and 1 to 6 star monsters. There are also rarity 6 materials in the game, but those come from exceedingly late game, and so there wasn't enough data available for this person to get reliable rates, so those aren't on the list. But the idea behind this is it shows the drop rates of different monster parts reported by players from different star ratings of monsters. We get some basic obvious information from this. 1 star monsters can drop rarity 1 and rarity 2 parts, 2 star can drop rarity 3 parts now as well, so on and so forth. A lot of changes as you go, but there are some interesting breakpoints that I want to talk about here that could change how you approach the earlier sections of the game. Notice how rarity 3 materials are a 13.4% drop chance on 2 star monsters, but only an 8.2% drop chance on 3 stars. This means that 2 star monsters are actually better to farm for rarity 3 materials than 3 star monsters are, as weird as that is to say. What this means is you could arguably lock yourself in the early game on purpose at only having 2 star maximum large monsters and just farm what's around for a bit to get a nice, healthy early game material collection for those early monsters if you want to craft their stuff later on, forcing the drop rates a little bit to be in your favor. The second breakpoint here is 5 star monsters having a 5.9% drop chance on rarity 4 materials such as prime scales, which are extremely important, but 6 star monsters having only a 3.5% drop chance on the same things. Yes, they also do have drop rates on 5 star materials, which you can't get before, and that is why, but until your equipment is getting close to grade 6, you don't need those. What you have far greater need for is prime scales more than anything else, and so purposefully blocking yourself off and not unlocking 6 star monsters is a bit of an actually not bad idea. The other side to that is that 6 star monsters are a massive bump up from 5 star monsters as well, and just because you can kill that urgent Rathalos quest by the skin of your teeth doesn't mean you should, because you immediately will unlock 6 star monsters. And while a 6 star Great Jagras will still be doable, a 6 star Rathalos compared to the gear that you have freshly ended the story with will just make your attack and defense numbers look totally pathetic in comparison. In other words, realistically, unless your gear is all hyper upgraded grade 5 stuff, you don't really gain anything from unlocking 6 star monsters other than the ability to make Rathalos gear, of course, but the trade-off for that is that a number of your regular monster spawns will now pop up as 6 star, and a good portion of those 6 star monsters will likely be unkillable for you until you upgrade your gear a fair bit more. So it may actually well be a smart strategy to purposefully wait a while before killing the urgent Rathalos that ends the story, instead just collecting a bunch of materials from balanced monster fights for your current equipment and getting some more upgrades on yourself before jumping up to 6 star and entering the endgame, which will dilute your monster pool. And that's pretty much it for today, everyone. Just a few bits that I wanted to share with you all as I continue my extended journey through Monster Hunter Now based on my mistakes that I learned from not investing in status weapons early, which I wish I should have done, and I think absolutely more people should, not killing enough small monsters, even though I thought I had done more than enough, and I keep telling people to do that. I didn't do enough myself either, and then simply progressing the game too fast. past, not being aware that you can actually make it sort of harder for yourself by overcoming these challenges too early on. All of these things are avoidable, honestly, and even if you don't want to avoid them, but now you just are aware of them, and it makes it feel like it's more your decision to avoid them rather than being a bit of a whoopsie. So hopefully this has helped some of you out, and hopefully you enjoyed this little update on my Monster Hunter Now hunting journey. Like if you liked the video, subscribe, hit the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.